Okay, let me start this. Dr. Ben Coughlin, double board certified plastic surgeon, as well as this gentleman here. I want to respond to this. There's a lot of, you got to be concerned when there's information out there that it's correct. So I'm not going to call anybody out, but I just want to make sure that people are getting the proper information and the science. I want you to have the scientific answer. I want to show you some anatomy, and I just want to review some things, kind of add a little bit of a rebuttal to some of these responses. Now, we did a response to Stephanie Lang's video earlier in the week. It got a good bite, so this is in response to this. So you're going to get two, different sides of the story. You have him, and you have me here explaining what I think.
I'll be reacting to Stephanie's video on the buccal fat removal trend.
I happened to be on the internet as I do, and all these articles started popping up, and I was like, what the heck?
I've seen that too, and actually many of the articles linked to our YouTube video, so check that out on buccal fat removal that we did sometime within the last year. We made a video on why I stopped doing buccal fat removal surgery, and people found it interesting.
So why he stopped? I mean, I watched the video. He seems like an intelligent doctor. I don't know him personally, but I think one of the big issues he had with it was that it's not a safe procedure. Now, every procedure can be unsafe. Stephanie Lang kind of alluded to that as well. If you aren't completely comfortable with the anatomy, if you don't know the procedure, if you haven't done thousands of them, then there's risk. So, and that goes for buccal fat, chin implants, BLEF, lasers, breast implants, butt lift, all of that, of course, comes into play. So I agree with them on that point that you want to go to somebody who's really well trained and knows the procedure and likes the procedure.
Back to that video, so check it out.
This trend that I am noticing is not only alarming, but disturbing. Have you guys seen this?
I gotta call it out again. I hate saying disturbing when you're talking about other people's aesthetics or just overall, commenting on any human or animal for that aspect.
Celebrities that had rather regular, normal-looking human faces, and then all of a sudden their cheekbones and jawlines were chiseled AF, and you were like, what the heck happened to you? Is it just me? It seems to me that there is no end to society's unrealistic beauty standards and no end to the amount of tweakments and cosmetic surgeries that we as women can have performed on us in order to change our appearances to better suit this unrealistic beauty standard.
Yeah, and these trends, they're fleeting, yet the surgical results are...
Come on. He's a doctor. Buccal fat's not a trend. He knows that. He's been doing it for a long time. I mean, the fact that people are liking a more contoured look, that's the trend. The fact that people, the sculpted look is in, that's kind of the what's hot now. And aesthetics change. If you look over, there's good literature on this about every 30 years. So I think you're safe. We'll see what they have to say.
Are permanent. We'll talk a bit later about whether it's possible to reverse a buccal fat removal.
You are possible to reverse it. You don't want to get to that scenario, of course. I don't want anybody to do any surgery they don't need.
If she doesn't cover that, but we'll see what she says first.
But buccal fat removal, this is going too far.
Buccal, it's all the same thing.
It is the same thing. It matters on where you are in the country. I believe she's Australian, so buccal is appropriate there. In Spain, when you're speaking English in a Spanish-speaking company, you're probably going to country, you're going to say buccal because the U gives the buccal. In the United States, buccal is the classic way to say it. Or in most of English-speaking nations.
It's all the same thing.
In my opinion. So if you guys haven't heard of it yet and you haven't seen all these articles and videos and Twitters and whatevers, what the heck is buccal fat removal and why is everyone suddenly getting it done? So buccal fat removal is essentially removing the fat from your cheeks, but more specifically, it is the surgical removal of the buccal fat pad that we naturally have between our cheekbones and our jawlines. According to
another video, I slipped in a few more slides here to show some of the anatomy because they removed a lot of the layers of the face when Stephanie showed that anatomy slide there. So it's important because the buccal's deep to all of these structures, which really allows that smooth contour.
Plastic surgery clinic here in Australia, the buccal fat reduction surgery aims to correct prominent or chubby cheeks.
So something to keep in mind is that the fat compartment, the buccal fat compartment, is actually located fairly deep, and it's deeper than most other facial fat compartments. So there is some relevance to that as far as the reversal.
Well, is relevance as far as reversal? There's also relevance as far as how it can change the layers of the face. So he knows as well as I do, the superficial fat pads shrink. The deeper fat pads, there's some good literature that those engorge the deposit fat pad. Buccal fat pad is considered a deposit fat pad. Like when you go to the bank, you're depositing it. You're not withdrawing, you deposit. It gets bigger. I have a good animation. I'll pop in a few of the recent articles that show that there's science behind showing this getting bigger with time.
We'll cover that later, but let's keep going.
Buccal fat removal surgery is usually completed within an hour, so nice and quick and simple, and only costs between $2,000 and $5,000 depending on where you go.
Well, if you saw the New York Times article, there's one surgeon who says that it costs $40,000. So, there is a wide range there.
Money well spent. Now, why the heck would anyone spend that kind of money to hollow out their face? I genuinely don't know.
There is, of course, the money question, right? But more importantly, it's a permanent change to your face that you can't undo. So I think that's the bigger issue.
Listen, it is a permanent change. He's right. You can't undo it because you can transfer fat. I'm sure he'll get into it later. I'm happy to expand on that. But, many people like the permanent aspect. So I'm doing a lot of buccal fat because there's this filler exhaustion. People like a peak, a valley, a peak, a valley. So you're sick of making your peaks with all the filler. You're sick of using your makeup, your highlighter, your concealer. You're sick of creating those contours, and you want a permanent solution. Not everybody. So I agree. People need to realize that this is a permanent. You should consider it a permanent procedure. I think most people get to the point that if it's surgical, it's permanent. But for some people, the permanency is the reason they're doing it. For a lot of people, for many people. I obviously review that with every patient. The patients, anybody listening here should be aware of that. Again, I think it's kind of understood, but it's a good discussion, a very good point.
Issue more so than the money.
I think it is to make you appear more like high fashion.
Again, you got to call out these photos. I mean, this is Halloween style makeup these women have on in these photos. Stephanie Lang, I would love to hear her feedback on that. I'm really stunned that she didn't comment on the makeup.
Fair, it does look more high fashion, but that does not mean that it suits everyone. Some of us do happen to be born with...
And remember, what looks good now may not look good in 10.
It doesn't mean it suits everyone, but you got to kind of assume it's suiting the person that pays to get the surgical procedure. Someone's going to pay 40 grand to get it done. I mean, I think I would hope that the surgeon gives them an idea of what they're going to get out of it. So I think that's a good point, and we should pay attention to that. I don't like people hating on people that get these procedures or talking poorly about them. You got to go into anything you do with an informed consent and informed as much knowledge as you can get. But because you choose to do it, good for you. And if you choose not to do it, good for you.
May not look good in 10 years, 15 years. The buccal fat pad is fat that doesn't...
Okay, what looks good now may not look good in 10 or 15 years. I would argue with that on a couple levels. Number one, a lot of things people do, breast implants, what do they look like in 10 years? I paused on purpose there. You got to swap them out, you got to repeat them, you got to do a lift. So, of course, the body changes with time as you age. Buccal fat pad can get bigger in certain populations. And then again, how I've modified it, Chicago style. Here's a little animation. I remove that mucosa muscle, actually picks up that pre-jowl, can kind of prevent some of these agings.
Change over time. It actually stays very consistent. And that's what many MRI studies have shown over the years. The rest of the...
Okay, good. I like this. Stays consistent. It actually gets bigger in some populations.
The rest of the fat in our face tends to atrophy and reduce. That's why people get fat transferred to the face, coupled with facelifts and things like that later in life. So if you're removing...
And they get it in the superficial layer where the superficial fat is atrophied to contour, make the skin look nice. So he's making a very good point here. I appreciate that anatomy.
Fat that is actually going to be with you for a long, long time. What happens later on is that then the face just overall looks way too hollow and gaunt. And that's the problem with the buccal fat.
So I would disagree with this. So, the buccal fat, it stays there consistent over time, but then it can lead to that kind of sagging. It's adding weight to that superficial fat that no longer has that superficial buoyancy. So this is a great point by him, that buccal stays there. And if he was on the moon or you're in space, I used to joke around, you can go to space or you can see me, it's your call. You can actually go to space now if you have enough money. Slide in Elon Musk and Bezos. Even if you don't like them, you can go to space.
You know, and that's the problem with the buccal fat removal over time.
With rounder faces, fuller cheeks. And if you go and remove the fat there, I mean, it just looks kind of weird.
Again, you got to call out this pixelation, fake distortion of the face. That's not what buccal fat does. That would be as if you were doing facial lipo or kybella in the face under the skin, because you're destroying that superficial fat. That's what that would depict.
Of when Mary-Kate and Ashley, for example, would apparently say prune when they were getting their photos taken to create that hollowed out high fashion cheekbone look. Because back in my day, that's what we did for photos. We would just like suck in our cheeks to look more model-esque. But of course, nowadays, that's simply not good enough. Now we have to go the whole hog and literally pay a surgeon to surgically remove the fat underneath our cheekbones to give us that look. But why? Why are we like this? And what the heck was wrong with our face?
Well, nobody has to do it. People are choosing to do it. They're paying a lot of money to do it. They're researching it. They're doing it because they want the permanent solution. They like that contour. They want it. I mean, many people. And I really don't think we should hate on them for it. I think that's a good thing. I think we should celebrate it. They're changing their body. They're feeling good. I literally have a previous video, and the girl told me I changed her life.
I don't know. It just like changed my life.
You know, it's that's really powerful. Why would you say? I mean, it almost brought a tear in my eye, but it really did. I get it. It's unfortunate that it takes an aesthetic to, you know, she said it was the best decision she's ever made. I mean, in a way that's bad, but you know what? She made it. She's happy. She's good. I love it. I mean, that's beautiful.
Before this was a thing.
And remember, this is a surgery that's not without risks. There are important neurovascular structures within the buccal space that can be injured. And so if you're a person who is thinking about getting the surgery, make sure to check out our video that covers some of the risks associated with the surgery. No one seems to ever talk about the risks. It's always like, should I pay for
No doubt, could be, you know, again, I'll say it, it's kind of how I describe this, extremely important anatomical area with very important aesthetic implications. So small changes can change the face. There's also some very serious anatomy there within millimeters. The way to reduce those risks is to see somebody that's doing it repetitively literally every single day. I'm doing these cases, and that's how you reduce risks. I mean, you know, all surgeons overall, you know, the best surgeon in the world versus the worst surgeon in the world, the skill level is probably closer than most people think. What changes that is how many of those cases we've done. It's repetition.
the surgery? Should I not pay for the surgery? What about the risks of like having a major problem if you get the surgery? How about, let's talk about that for once.
Buccal fat in your cheeks. When was...
Listen, I agree. You know, that's why I'm so specialized in this area. There's not anything that goes wrong that I can't fix with my own two hands. That's the truth. And that's why I do it this way.
If you get the surgery, how about, let's talk about that for once.
Buccal fat in your cheeks. When was that deemed an issue that needed correcting? Now let's look at some famous examples of people that are alleged to have undergone this tweakment. I just find it really fascinating and alarming. So Bella Hadid...
Again, Stephanie, come on. How are you going to use this photo? Look at her eyes. Look at the eyeshadow. Look at the lighting to create those shadows, to really exaggerate and you know, really to make those contours pop. Come on. You got to acknowledge that. That's the Tweety Bird.
Bella Hadid is, of course, the main offender. She is...
Main offender? I mean, she looks beautiful. She's like, how could you call her an offender? She's happy. She's beautiful. Gosh, that's a hard thing to hate on.
Long rumored to have undergone buccal fat removal. And to be fair... I do believe it. Bella is definitely going for that high fashion look, anyone can see that. And when you look at her older pictures, Bella, like her sister Gigi, naturally had a beautiful...
There's something so much softer and more approachable about this photo.
Now listen, this is these people's aesthetic. I mean, obviously the photo, like I said, the Halloween style makeup is harsh, but I like those contours. I like the sharpness. I like the peaks, the valleys for these clear shadows and curves. So some people don't though. This guy doesn't, Stephanie doesn't, so don't get buccal fat, of course. Don't encourage your friend to get buccal fat, but you know, the people that get it, they get it because they want it. It's funny. I had a gal the other day, she's like, I want to be, you know, I want you to Leah Michelle me, I want you to Bella Hadid me, do everything you can. If you got a screw, use that. You know, if you need to drill and cut, please. So some people like it. You just got to you just got to kind of accept that.
About this photo on the left, you know, removal of the buccal fat and you know, cheek augmentation compared to her appearance now, but maybe that is the high fashion look, whatever the heck that means.
Had a beautiful full face. What was wrong with her face before? Nothing. She was so beautiful.
I agree with
Stephanie, and I agree with him. You know, she was beautiful before. She is beautiful now. The key question you both and myself and everybody should be asking, which is she happy? Does she like the way she looks now? Does she, drink her coffee with a smile? She is. She's happy. She likes it. So I really don't get the point of hating on her and telling her she looked better before. I really think that's a really poor way to approach this type of a surgery, this type of an aesthetic. The world, it's a poor way. It's a bad way to approach anything. I think being more positive is probably really the key.
Oh, nothing. She was so beautiful.
I agree with Stephanie.
She still is, but she was already. Then there's Zoe Kravitz, or Zoe Kravitz, actress and model and daughter of my personal favorite, Lisa Bonet, born with naturally stunning bone structure. Absolute babe of this world, but where the heck have her cheeks gone? Then there's Sophie Turner. What has happened here? Has she just aged? Has she lost weight? I mean, I don't think so. She's only 26 and she's always been tall and slim. So where have her cheeks disappeared to? Leah Michelle, once the proud owner of a face with buccal fat, now is no longer.
Again, if you look at these photos, look at the amount of makeup. Look at her lips. Look at her eyes. Look at her brows. To not comment on that when you're looking at a still photo before and after, I think is negligent. Also, you're going to see videos of her. She's going to look spectacular. 3-dimensional moving videos. I'm telling you, it looks good. You couldn't do this with buccal fat if you tried alone.
Of a face with buccal fat now is no longer. Incinerated in a cosmetic surgeon's dungeon. Tell me I'm not the only one that liked Leah.
You're probably not the only one, but Leah Michelle is happy. I mean, why you gotta hate on her? I think it's a reasonable thing for somebody to do if they have the money and they know somebody who can do it safely. I think she looks beautiful.
Michelle's face with her buccal fat intact. Yes, she looks glamorous and high fashion now, but she was a natural stunner before too. Isa Gonzalez, where has your buccal fat gone? She actually already had naturally high prominent cheekbones and angular features.
Yeah, once somebody sets that trend, everyone else seems to follow suit and they all play copycat because they have to keep up, right? It's that whole game of just chasing the next big thing and staying relevant.
Keeping up with the Joneses, I think you're referring to. No, so people do. I mean, this is how aesthetics look. I'll go back to it. People like to be hot. They like to feel good. They like to feel attractive, and that's just the world. That's our life. That's how we've evolved. It's really just truth. So if somebody feels hotter with this, then I mean, it's just how it goes. So if they feel hotter with a rounder face, good for them. If they feel harder with a sculpted face, good for them. This is the key. I really think they're really oversimplifying this to the fact that Leah Michelle is convincing other people to do buccal fat. That's not the truth. People think she looks attractive. That's their personal aesthetic. So now they want to try to achieve that. So as she's influencing it in that way, she showed them what is attractive. But they're doing it for themselves, so it's not that simple.
And staying relevant, I think that's what people are trying to do.
Features, and to be fair, in my eyes, a little buccal fat was a lovely addition to her face. Chrissy Teigen,
to be fair, in your eyes, Stephanie. So but in her own eyes, I'd love to ask her.
A little buccal fat was a lovely addition to her face. Chrissy Teigen Nashi is one celebrity that has actually been honest and upfront and come out and said, yeah, I had my buccal fat removed.
Yeah, and she's talked about her eyebrow hair transplant, and she's really been very open about procedures. And one day, we hope to actually do like a podcast on this channel and maybe even interview some of the celebrities who are willing to talk about their procedures and what they went through and their thought process for getting the procedure and just being open. We just feel like...
me too, Ed. I mean, I would love to have a podcast with them, but then you guys would be dissing on them for getting buccal fat. So, I mean, that's part of the reason that people aren't as open about this type of thing is when they get there's this negative connotation to plastic surgery. There's this negative connotation to kind of wanting to change your body, wanting to change your face, when it really can be a beautiful thing if you do it safely and have fun while you're doing it. So I think, and I don't mean to be too harsh, that part of the reason that people aren't as open about it is, they don't want a YouTube video about themselves and other people telling them how they look better before. So, you got to think about that.
Removed and what? I did that Dr. Diamond buccal fat removal thing, and I like it. Good for her. If she likes it, that's the main thing. But why is it a thing in general? Why is it a thing to begin with? That's
even her brows just looks.
Okay, hold on again. Stephanie, por favor. Look at that makeup. Look at the lighting. She looks paler. Come on, can't account this. She obviously has a little filler in the angle of her jaws, maybe a little filler in her chin tip. You can't just look at one thing. The face is a three-dimensional dynamic structure. So she may have had her buccal fat. She may have a little more contour here, but she's obviously got a little filler in her cheekbones. Come on. And if he doesn't comment on it, I'm going to be pissed.
So distorted, because she created a thinner
Good job.
eyebrow, but very heavy brow bone. So maybe that was augmented. The cheekbones seem to have some filler or probably an implant. The jaw has an obvious implant in it. I don't know. I mean, maybe to some that's more attractive, but I think I liked where she started.
So this is really important. If you make the peak that much sharper while you make the valley that much deeper, it can be too much. I have plenty of people that are doing the buccal fat, so they don't need the filler, they don't need the cheek implant. The permanency, again, is really the point for a lot of people.
Back. Dove Cameron, her buccal fat is also missing in action. Honestly, I am concerned for the buccal fat of this world. Please tell me that...
I didn't realize so many celebrities were getting this done.
Look at Demi Moore.
I like where she started very much. I think if she had just done the buccal, it could be nice. But again, if she's happy, guys, just let her be happy. I mean, she looks good. She's obviously got a great career. It seems to be working for her. So I just don't want to hate on it. I think it's better to be positive.
Demi Moore and Madonna. In my opinion, and I could be wrong here, but I mean, it certainly looks like it, they have both had, allegedly, buccal fat removal.
I knew they were.
To make themselves look more youthful and more refined and more high fashion, perhaps. But in my eyes, it's kind of had the opposite effect. They don't look younger. They don't look older. They just look different. Like, they just don't look like them.
Again, I hope the other doctor here comments on it. They've obviously had a lot of other action going on, which I think is the parts that are really making this doctor and her not like their faces. I'll again go back to, you really got to let people live and do what they want. I think Madonna is probably one of the happiest people you see out there these days. You may not like her aesthetic, but she seems to really enjoy her life and be happy where she's at. So, and she's from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Themselves. They don't look bad, but they don't look better. So it's like, what was the point? And another thing I think is really interesting is that back in the good old days, a fuller face was considered to be youthful and attractive, and everybody wanted it. And nobody wanted to have that gaunt, hollowed out look.
The point was to get them what they wanted. I mean, you can't get inside somebody's head that way. As a surgeon, really, honestly, my main goal is to try to get inside the patient's head, because when our heads align and we get somebody happy, that's how you get real good success. So I think that's an important point.
And now we're literally...
Well, what's going to happen is that as people start to realize that that's maybe not the best look, that kind of hollowed out look, there's going to be more fat transfer that occurs. So we're going to bring back that trend, which is popularized by Dr. Coleman with fat transfer to the face. And so then we're going to do that.
So, the older population still likes the round look. So it's going to be maybe in 30 years, again, there's good literature on this, as aesthetics change, the younger group might be want that, and then these young groups will be, oh, the sculpted look is so much better now. Look, everybody's round. I mean, that's how it's how the humans kind of critique each other. That's how it's going to go, I think.
That, and then the faces are going to appear too big, and then we're going to go back the other way. But isn't that the case with fashion as well, right? You kind of cycle through these different trends, and something that was popular in the 80s is now coming back today, and it just kind of keeps going around.
Listen, man, everybody wants what they don't got. I'm writing a book right now called The Girl with Many Faces, and big butts want to be small butts want to be big, tan people want to be light-skinned people want to be tan. It's just big cheeks, round cheeks sculpted cheeks round. It's the reality. It's human nature.
Going around in a cyclical type of manner.
Paying surgeons to create the gaunt, hollowed outlook. It's like beauty trends are just so fickle.
It's funny, I had a girlfriend in college that called me fickle, and I had to Google it to see what it meant.
Surgical procedures. So let's just say you had the buccal fat removal, and now, 10 years have gone by, and you're not happy with how hollowed out you look, and you're like, okay, I want to get a fat transfer, or I want to get some filler. You can't put filler or fat deep into that compartment where you remove the buccal fat. So any changes that you make into the cheek area is always going to be into the more superficial compartment. So it's never going to look quite the same.
Cheekbones look amazing. I'm going to book in with my close.
You can put fat deep into that apartment. Intelligent.coin has a good article on how to do that. So I've done it before. It does a really good job. This gentleman, I'm sure, will find that article. But this is a good point. Listen, I don't want anybody to do buccal fat that's going to regret it. I don't want people to do additional surgical procedures. I want to make people happy. So you got to go into this knowing what you're getting into. You got to find what you think is sexy, and you got to try to kind of get there if it's something you want to change. So full disclosure, knowing what you're getting, looking at those contours, having a long discussion with your surgeon is for sure pivotal. I agree with the sentiment.
My closest cosmetic surgeon and have my buccal fat taken out. But let me leave you with this. Beauty trends clearly come and go. And what the heck are we going to do if in 5 years' time, after we have had our buccal fat removed, then suddenly fuller faces, that cherubic and...
Don't say it's so dirty. It's not. But get your buccal fat removed in a good way.
Angelic, youthful look is back in, and everybody wants a full face and full cheeks, but you've already had your buccal fat surgically removed and incinerated.
Man, she always hits it hard. Buccal fat removed.
Incinerated. What are you going to do then? No doubt they'll start offering buccal fat augmentations where you can have buccal fat injected into your cheeks, and then we'll all start paying.
Well, no, it'll be, as I mentioned, actual filler or fat transfer that is then offered, but it's not going to be an exact replacement of what was removed because, again,
here's the Cohen article to reverse buccal fat. It's a really good technique. He proved it shows nice. Interestingly, and he's a very good surgeon. In his videos or in his article, I like the befores, I like the befores better than the afters because he's making the face more round. So. But that's my personal opinion. That's the opinion of, I think, a lot of people who want that more sculpted look. So that's the key.
Because again, you're going from a deep compartment where you've removed stuff, and now you're placing things into a superficial compartment. So that's going to give you a very different appearance.
Paying for that. But why, my friends, are we doing this to ourselves? Changing our God-given...
To stand out, right? I mean, that's why people are doing it in the first place. They want...
Well, you can fill the deep compartment again, so he's incorrect.
To do something to make themselves look different. People are trying to find that unique little thing, right? And for some people, that really helps, it benefits their careers because now, look at this model. She looks so interesting and different. So they're going to get, maybe a better contract.
Given genetic looks we were born with to have for the rest of our lives to suit the current beauty standard for what? And aside from...
For themselves, for whether they want to. I mean, that's the key.
From that. And more importantly, even though the surgery only takes an hour and only costs between $2,000 and $5,000, it, like any cosmetic surgery, comes with a long list of potential risks that I think everybody should be aware of if this is...
Watch our video. It covers all of the potential.
It really does cover the risk. It does a good job.
Shoot me in the face. The bullet entered my smile line, tunneled in my cheek, shattered my jaw, and exited behind my ear. Other than a tiny dimple in my smile line, you can't tell anything happened. I love my buccal fat. So I thought that was like a really heartwarming message from Lizette, and we pinned it on our video. And, I just...
Listen, this is true. And actually, I do a lot of trauma and reconstruction at the county hospital. In 2020, I did 20 gunshot wounds to the face. And I'll use the buccal fat to reconstruct the face sometimes. It's a great vascular fat pad. So it is true. If you think you're going to get shot in the face, you should keep your buccal fat.
I just wanted to leave you guys with that. Buccal fat, it's not a bad thing. So consider keeping it and not getting it cut out. All right. See you guys.
I agree, man. Consider keeping it. At the same point, if you don't want it, we could throw it down the Chicago River.
All right, cool. You stayed the whole video. Listen, like, subscribe, and you just get hotter from subscribing to my channel. That's the key. Hot is hot. Keep going. Like, subscribe, follow, whatever you got to do here. We'll see you around.